What's going on, guys? Sharpshot here. Hope you guys are having a great day so far. So for today's video, we're going to be going over 3 tips to improve fast as a beginner killer in DBD. As of recently, I've started to play a lot more killer on my Twitch streams. Whoa! Oh my god, chat! Did you see that blink? Woo! And these 3 tips I'm going to mention in the video really help me improve really quickly and rank up really quickly as a killer. So yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. The first tip I have is know when to slug. For you guys that don't know what slugging is, it's basically when a killer leaves 1 or more survivors in the dying state on the ground to continue chasing other nearby survivors. Slugging is really high risk, high reward. The risk is that the survivor you leave down on the ground might get recovered back up and you'll still have 0 hooks at the end of the chase. But the reward is that you could potentially get a lot more than 1 hook. The ultimate goal of slugging is potentially getting all 4 survivors in the dying state and then hooking all of them to end the game outright. But if that's not possible, you can also just get multiple hooks really quickly if you slug really effectively, which will then put a ton of pressure on the survivors to stop what they're doing objective wise and continuously unhook, and survivors will be stuck in a cycle of not doing any gen progress and just unhooking. I would suggest to only slug if you directly see survivors really close to the survivor that's down on the ground. I would 100% go for it if you see survivors that are injured nearby, but I probably wouldn't go for the slug if I saw a survivor nearby that was really good at looping, and would instead just go for the hook right away. Another good slugging strategy is to slug when there are 2 survivors left and you have 1 in the dying state. This will be really good if you do not want to give that last survivor hatch, so then you can down both survivors and just end the game without the risk of having the last survivor escape through hatch. At the end of the day, you really just have to trust your gut, and if you're really confident in your abilities and really think you're going to get a successful slug, just go for it. The second tip I have is to do a 3 gen. When there's 1 remaining gen for the survivors to do, there's going to be 3 possible generators for the survivors to complete, and a 3 gen situation is when all 3 of those gens are in the closest proximity to each other. This makes it really easy for the killer to quickly patrol all 3 generators to make it so that the survivors will never be able to finish any of those generators. This is especially good if you're kind of behind on your hooks and the survivors are kind of rolling through the gen progress. If you get into a 3 gen, this will stun and halt the survivors progress with the generators, and you can catch up on the hooks and eventually beat them and get a 4K. A big tip though is do not pick a 3 gen too early in the trial. Do not go into the game immediately and say, okay, these 3 gens are to be the 3 gens that I control, and then just patrol those 3 gens for the entire game. Not only will this be really boring in the start of the game, but at that point you're barely going to get any hooks and the survivors are just going to steamroll you because they're going to be too far ahead in the game for you to catch up. So my tip would be to just play the game normally and let the survivors complete a couple generators, and then once the survivors have 3 or maybe 2 generators left to complete, that's when you should look at the generators left and then pick a 3 gen from there and then start patrolling that 3 gen. This is a good strategy because you'll be able to play the game normally, and if you're steamrolling the survivors, you won't even need to go to that 3 gen. The 3 gen is kind of a last resort to getting that 4K. If you can get the 4K without doing a 3 gen, that is awesome. So picking a 3 gen late in the game allows you to just play normally, have fun, get the hooks, and a 3 gen is really just the last resort option to get that 4K. My third and final tip for the video is to also play some survivor games. Using the survivor knowledge from the survivor's point of view to your advantage as a killer is really important and can really mean the difference between a good and a great killer. Knowing ahead of time what that survivor might actually do because you've done it as a survivor is really good, and it'll help you predict and mind game the survivors in a chase, for example. A common thing you might pick up as a survivor is that when you spawn into the game, you usually start working on the gen that's closest to you and usually spawn furthest away from the killers. So as a killer, knowing this, always check the furthest gens away from you when you spawn into the game to find your first survivor and get into a chase really quickly. Here's a great example of me knowing what the survivor is going to do ahead of time and getting the easy grab to end the chase really quickly on this Claudette. Let's fucking go. She's gonna drop the pallet here. Yep, I knew it. It's too easy. As you just saw in this clip, the Claudette dropped the pallet and then I looped around the wall to block the point of view, so the Claudette doesn't know where I am. From the survivor's point of view, she hopped the pallet because she didn't see me and thought that as the killer, I was gonna go around the loop and then get her around the pallet, so she decided to vault the pallet. But what she didn't know is that from a survivor's point of view, I know she was gonna do this, so then I moonwalked back and then just got the easy grab off of the pallet. So yeah guys, those are the 3 tips I have for improving improving fast as a beginner killer. Let me know in the comments if these tips helped you out, and for you experienced killers out there, drop some other really good tips for the beginner killers in the comments so that the beginner killers can just scroll through the comments and see a bunch of tips to improve really fast. And who knows, if I see some really good tips in the comments, maybe I'll even do a part 2 to this video. So yeah guys, that's been the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you're new. This has been Sharpshaw, and I will see you guys in the next video.